Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. First, I would like to thank for my lecturer, Mr. Benny Wijaya, for the chance that given to me and all of my beloved friends. I am Sekar Putri Maharani, and today I would like to present my journal article review about impacts of the coronavirus pandemic on Europe's tourism industry, addressing tourism enterprise and workers in the undeclared economy. So, there are 6 contents of this journal article. That will be abstract, introduction, critical review, research methodology, result, and the last is discussion and conclusion. Okay, let's begin from the abstract. The coronavirus pandemic has led to the revenue loss for tourism enterprises and workers due to restriction on movement. In response, government have made available temporary financial support, but not to those who tourist enterprise and workers in the undeclared economy. Reporting a 2018 Eurobarometer survey, this paper reveals that 1 in 165 European citizens engage in undeclared work in tourism and the group involved. To bring these enterprises and workers onto the radar of the state, a voluntary disclosure initiative is advocated offering access to the temporary financial for undeclared enterprises and workers disclosing their previous undeclared work. Next is introduction. In early January 2020, a new strain of coronavirus producing a respiratory disease, COVID-19, began spreading across the globe. On the 30 January 2020, the World Health Organization declared that a global health emergency, and on 11 March, a pandemic was confirmed. At the time of writing in April 2020, the closure of business to restrict movement and the spread of the virus has affected 81% of the global workforce. The impact on the tourist industry has been profound, which has largely ceased to operate. This happens because of large-scale social restriction in all countries. Because some countries close access to both domestically and abroad. The world's population is trying to protect themselves from being exposed to COVID-19, so they reduce travel activities. Governments across the globe have responded by offering unprecedented short-term financial support to the enterprises and workers affected. For instance, in the United Kingdom, business in tourism and beyond are able to claim 80% of their employees' monthly wage up to maximum of €2,500 per employee to keep them on the payroll. With the self-employed can claim a taxable grant worth 80% of their trading profits up the maximum of €2,500 per month and defer payment of tax owed. And similar schemes have been introduced or labor laws. The next is critical review. Since the World Health Organization declared a coronavirus pandemic in March 2020, national governments across the globe have been closing non-essential business and restricting movement. In just a few across Europe and beyond, this financial support is not available for enterprises and workers operating in undeclared economy, which is here defined as paid activities not declared to the authorities for the purpose of evading tax and social security contribution. On few weeks, the result was that the European tourism industry came to an abrupt halt and workers lost their incomes. In response to the closure on such non-essential business, the International Labour Organization have called for measures that the measure to be implemented to protect workers, support job and income, and stimulate the economy and employment. This include introducing social protection for those affected, supporting employment retention, and financial and tax relief for the affected enterprises. In Europe, which at the time of writing is epicenter of the pandemic, the European Commission 2020 has introduced its 100 billion euros support to mitigate unemployment risk in an emergency. This provides member states with loans to the short-term schemes to protect employees and the self-employed against dismissal and lost income. For example, of national schemes. The problem is that some enterprises and workers either do not operate in the declared economy or only partially do so. They are thus unable to access the short-term financial support being made available. This is not a minor proportion for enterprises and workers, especially in the tourism industry. The consequence is that most of the world enterprises and workers are unable to access the short-term financial support to offset the impact on their livelihoods of the pandemic. There are registered businesses who do not declare all their transactions. For example, not declaring all the night that accommodation that has been rent or all food supplies to their guests, not recording transaction in restaurant and bars. These enterprises will be able only to access support according to the level of their declared turnover and for declared employees. And there are three types can be identified. The first is there are unregistered employees, where the employees are wholly undeclared and have no written contract of employment. This is, however, varies across member states, with 50% of all employees in accommodation and food service activities is unregistered employment in Cyprus. The second is there are those in declared employment who receive an official declared wage, often set at the minimum wage, and the rest of the salary as undeclared. On the table 2 reveals that 1 in 28 of the representative sample of European citizens surveyed had undertaken undeclared work in previous 12 months. And the third is there are bogus self-employed workers. These workers are formally registered as self-employed but have the same working condition as direct employees and or depend on one employer for most of their income. In the Euro, 4% of total employment is bogus self-employment. Moreover, just 10% of those reporting themselves as self-employed in the accommodation and food service sector are bogus self-employed. Overall, bogus self-employed is less of a problem in the accommodation and food service sector than in the Euro economy overall. These bogus self-employed workers will be unable to access financial support pages for employees but able to access the support for the self-employed. Okay, next is methodology. This research journal used qualitative methods. What is qualitative methods? Qualitative methods are methods that focus on in-depth observation. Therefore, the use of qualitative methods in research can result in a more comprehensive study of a phenomenon. In September 27, 2019, interviews were undertaken in 28 European countries. In United Kingdom, these interviews were conducted with adults aged 15 years and older in the national language. To select the citizen for interview, a multi-stage or probability sampling methodology was employed, which ensured that on the issues of gender, age, region, and locality size, a representative sample was selected both on national level and each level of the sample. Therefore, for the univariate analysis, sample weighting was employed, as recommended in both the wider literature. For the multivariate analysis, however, debate exists over whether a weighting scheme should be used. Okay, next is the result. In Table 2, the descriptive result revealed that women are overrepresented, as are younger age group, single people, and single-person households. Although the years spent in education appear to make little difference to participation, students are overrepresented, as are manual workers and the unemployed. Those having difficulty paying the household bills most of the time are also overrepresented, and although there are few differences between urban and rural areas, those living in Western Europe are more likely than those in other European regions to engage in undeclared work in tourism. And Table 3 reports the marginal effects of the regression analysis. Model 1 introduces the socio-demographic variable. Model 2 adds the socio-economic variable, and the Model 3 the full specification model but adds the spatial variable. Analyzing the full specification model, women have a 10 percentage point higher probability of practicing in undeclared work in tourism than men. Younger age groups are also significantly more likely to do so than older groups. Okay, and the last is the discussion and conclusion. The temporary closure of the tourism industry in response to the coronavirus pandemic has resulted in government providing short-term financial support to the workers and business affected. However, this is only available to offset the loss of declared revenue by enterprises, employees, and the self-employed. Enterprises, employees, and the self-employed operating in the undeclared economy will not receive such support. In Europe, this affects 1 in 28 of all European citizens who participate in undeclared work, 17% of whom work in the tourism industry, meaning that 1 in 65 of all European citizens undertake undeclared work in the tourism industry. Indeed, 1% of all European citizens, or 1 in 640 depend solely on undeclared work in the tourism industry for all their incomes. These are more likely be women, younger people in single person, and manual workers, and with a child under 10 years old. Okay, I think that's all of my journal article review. I'm sorry if there is mistakes, and thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.